Hi guys, so I'm back with another grain to glass video. This time I'm talking about my CF185 Golden Ale. CF185 is an experimental hop release from Charles Ferrand. I think it's been out a couple of years now. I've had the hops myself for quite a while. I've already used them once before, so I was just using up the leftovers. So we'll get into the recipe. So the beer itself turned out 5% and 38 IBUs. 1044 OG and 1006 final gravity. So I started out with a much lower original gravity than expected. I've been having some problems with my system because the pump doesn't work anymore, so I can't recirculate, so I have to mess about a bit. And this one had quite a lot of oat and wheats in, and I probably didn't account for that very well. So I started out with a lower original gravity, but then it fermented out a lot lower, so it still worked out around a similar percent to what I expected. So the grain buffers: 5 kilograms of Golden Promise, 250 grams Golden Naked Oats, and 500 grams of Flaked Wheat. I also went for a 30-minute mash, which probably contributed to the lower original gravity. I was kind of experimenting with that, but for me, the time saving versus the effectiveness of it, I probably won't bother with it in the future. Unless I'm in a particular rush, I'm making a very simple beer that's mostly just base malt, then I think you'll probably get away with it if you're mashing well. So yeah, it was a 30-minute mash at 67 degrees. I then went for a 30-minute boil. 30-minute boils, you know, I'm pretty happy with those, but I'm not like a die-hard fan of it who thinks you can do them every time. I think if you want a clearer beer, you're probably better off going for a longer boil. So I went for 10 grams of Magnum just for bittering, 20 grams of the CF185 at 10 minutes, 40 grams at 0 minutes, and 40 grams of it for a 75 degree hop stand for half an hour. I then fermented it with Verdant Yeast, which I thought would complement the descriptions of the hop, which are citrus, floral and peach. So let's get onto the brew footage now, and then after that I'll show you the beer and I'll try and taste it. So yeah, this one turned out to be a kind of hectic brew day, just because in my infinite wisdom I used whole leaf hops, just didn't think, and lobbed them all into the kettle. So it was a total pain to get them into the fermenter because the whole leaf hops immediately clogged up my tap. But anyway, so here it is. I bottled it off the keg, I finished the rest of the keg. It took me a while to get round to filming this tasting, just because I've been busy. Hopefully I've cleaned the glass enough and it's kept its carbonation. There you go. So it's dropped pretty clear now. I know Verdant's more of a hazy type yeast. I did find with this one, towards the end of the keg, I had to move the keg and ended up rousing the yeast a bit, and it went really hazy again, but I think I got more of that like apricot yeast character from it, which was pretty nice. So it's probably a good one to try and keep the yeast in suspension a bit more. But anyway, let's give it a smell now. So yeah, it's definitely got a florally type smell. Not really getting any citrus, maybe like the slightest hint, but I don't think there's any. But like it says, the sort of peachy flavour you can definitely pick up on the nose a little bit. It's definitely got a floraliness and maybe even a slight earthiness. I don't think I mentioned the colour when I was talking just then, but it's pretty pale. I think the Golden Naked Oats added a bit of colour. To be honest with you, I tend to prefer pretty much every beer style to have a slight orangey amber hue. I'm not really a fan of like yellowy beers. Like I've had a couple like that recently, and I just don't think they look massively appetising. I find you tend to sacrifice taste for not including some like, not necessarily crystal or something like that, but maybe some like Munich or something. Just chuck some in just to add a bit of character to the beer. Anyway, those down to the mouthfeel next. Yeah, so with it finishing so low, it's not really what I wanted from this beer, because I was aiming for more of a... Go away, boy. Sorry, just shooing the dog off. I was aiming for more of a thicker body, hence the higher mash temperature and the addition of wheat and oats in there. And it's finished really dry. I don't really know what happened there. I don't know if it's due to my system, but I can't recirculate anymore. It's not getting a good temperature reading, but I do constantly stir the mash because of that. Yeah, it's a bit of a pain. I mean, as for taste, it's like pleasant. It's got a slight sweetness from the Golden Naked Oats. A bit of like a quite nice grainy, sort of sweet grainy, maybe slightly honeyish taste from the Golden Promise. And maybe like a little bit of wheatiness too. Hops wise, yeah, it's got a slight floriness. I think maybe even like the citrusiness maybe comes in. I think you can maybe pick up a tiny bit of like orange or sweet orange, or like a tangerine. And there is a slight peachy flavour, but there's also a bit of a earthiness. And I've heard this about some of the more newer experimental English hops are meant to taste a bit more like fruity and more suitable for like a modern pale ale. Still having quite a lot of English character, being quite earthy, and I do think this is one of them. I think there's a reason this one's remained CF185 and not got like a proper name or anything like that, because it's not my favourite hop. I had sort of similar things when I used it last time, and I thought, you know, well, I wanted to use them all because it's a waste not to, and it's not totally unpleasant or anything, but the first time I made it, I thought, oh, this isn't a hop for me. But I thought, you know, give it another go. It might have been a problem with that beer, but it's definitely the hop, I think. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still drank the keg. It's pretty easy drinking, but it has got a little bit of harshness and earthiness, particularly for such a light and dry, clear beer. So yeah, it's not a hop I'm gonna use again. I don't know if people have had different results. I use the leaves. I don't know if people use the pellet and it's been different, but it's not one for me. But yeah. Anyway, the keg's done. This is the last one, so I don't have to drink anymore anyway. Alright, cheers.